What's up? The Shark Daymond John here from ABC Shark Tank, and you're watching EliteDaily.com.
How did you grow up in Hollis, Queens during the heyday of Rum DMC and LL Cool J, inspiring your ambitions?
Well, how I was growing up in the heyday of Hollis, I think it was a great time. I think because it was that fusion. It was a middle class neighborhood, but the kids still went out and interacted with each other, played football, played baseball on the streets, stickball and whatever the case is. But then the coolness started coming around. So we started seeing this guy, Russell Simmons. He was just driving around these cars, and we would see him in papers and magazines and everything in Europe and Australia, and just doing his thing. But he wasn't selling drugs. He wasn't hustling. He wasn't a pimp. He wasn't selling crack. He wasn't doing anything like that. He was slinging music. He was having a good time. You can't even say he was working, actually. So growing up in that time, it was such an energy, as well as this music that came over from the Bronx was hip hop. And it was such a raw music. And in New York, Queens, besides Long Island, was considered the softest borough. So when the hip hop started coming out and the kids in Queens started becoming known for it, and LL and MC Shan and all those guys, we actually felt like we had a voice. Forget even the world. We had a voice now along with all the boroughs, because we kind of adopted this music that really was coming out of the Bronx. So it was a magical time.
We're rising, surprising, and often hypnotizing. We always tell the truth and then we never spit no lies.
College obviously isn't for everybody. I was able to, also get an opportunity to start my career, not going back to college. But what were some of the lessons that you had learned around the time you decided to start establishing your own path instead of going back to school?
Well, I started to realize that by not going to school that I wasn't as smart as I thought I would be. I took that I'm going to take that year off type of decision, and all of a sudden I didn't go to college. Now you got me being a waiter. I'm 22 years old, and all those people I thought were idiots in school are now coming back from college. I'm serving them shrimp, right? So it was embarrassing, as well as that whole I'm going to be a millionaire very soon. It didn't work out like I thought. It was really hard to make a first million because I didn't make it for many, many years to come. I was buying these, it was kind of the in thing to buy crash cars, go and get them fixed up and resell them. And I just, the math with me was no problem. I'll buy 50 of them, I'll make a profit of X amount of dollars, and I'll be a millionaire next week. Well, didn't work out like that, and I was serving all my high school friends shrimp and Red Lobster when they were coming back from college. So it was embarrassing. And I think that what changed my life wasn't the fact that I wanted to become a millionaire. What changed my life was the fact that I wanted to make these clothes for myself, for other people, because nobody respected this market. I was doing something I loved, and then all of a sudden it started to take off.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, once that passion finally, caught on, and you finally decided, this is something that I want to move forward with, and a little bit about that first product and how it kind of all took off from there? And then did you ever decide, at that point it was like no slowing you down, right?
Yeah, well, when that passion, when that thing grabs a hold of you, and as they say, when the needle is finally in the vein and you're really hooked, it's like being in love. It's like you thought you liked somebody when you were 13, 14 years old, and that was just something new and it was puppy love. But when you're 22, 23 years old and you're out there sitting there making life decisions and saying, I can see myself with this person for the rest of my life, and you're getting butterflies every time you see them, that's what it is when you have a business and you have a company that you love. You can't see anything else. And I would have dressed people till today for free if I could. And I'm sure you hear that from everybody else. An artist will rap and sing, anytime they can be seen. And just like the kids in school who always got kicked out in special ed who are comedians, they can't help it. They know that that's the biggest bully in the schoolyard, and they can't help it but crack a joke, even though they're going to get their head cracked open, but they just love what they're doing. And that's just how it was as a business. When I fell in love with FUBU when I saw that first person walking down the street with my product on.
FUBU. FUBU. Come on. FUBU.
Developing a sexual product is one thing, but creating a lasting brand legacy is completely a different beast in its own. What core values do you maintain from your early days at FUBU and your new ventures?
I think that there's 4 levels that any brand or product can go through. They won't all hit the 4 levels. So you can have an item, and that item is, all right, I'm making bottle. There's water, and water can be getting anywhere from the fountain to the stream, or you put it in a bottle. You can then have a label. You put any label on there because you go into the store and you say, well, that's bottled water. I don't know the label's name per se. Then you have more of a brand, Dasani. It's a brand. We don't know much about it, but then you can become a lifestyle. Avion, vitamin water. So a lot of us don't get to the level of lifestyle where if you copy a piece of paper, somebody may say go Xerox it when really Xerox is a company, or you ask for a soda and somebody calls it a Coke, where it basically categorizes everything. You search for something, they say Google it no matter how you're searching, and that becomes a lifestyle. It's a challenge to go through those processes, and what I do with all my companies is I say to them that the easiest thing to sell in the world is the truth. Back in the days it was, make it they will come, and we can put some lipstick on a pig and dress it up. With this world of transparency today, you can create the biggest lie campaign that you like, but one person at your office can send out a tweet and say it's all garbage, and you're over. So if you understand that the easiest thing to sell is the truth, and you know your DNA, if you put that out there, then people will understand it and people will respect it. Or at least if you lose, they just weren't feeling you, but you know what it was.
Wow, that is out of all the people that we've interviewed, that is one of the best statements that I've learned from an entrepreneur.
Oh, my crap works for you? Okay, no problem. But you know what? The beautiful thing is, it's my story. It's what I've learned in my life. It could be good, bad, or indifferent. But again, it's the only thing I know. And that's the easiest thing that sells the truth.
Right. The first year of business is obviously the most difficult for entrepreneurs. What was your work ethic like the first year of business and today?
I wouldn't really tell you the truth that the first year of business is the most difficult because the first year of business, you're still learning, and often you're small enough and you're agile enough to make the corrections and learn the mistakes. I would say the first year of when you have employees and you have responsibility is where you really learn, the challenges. I've been fortunate enough to be the entrepreneur in residence at a university, Babson University in Boston, Massachusetts this year. And there was a book written by the President Schlesinger, Len Schlesinger, and it taught entrepreneurship. And I never thought you could be taught entrepreneurship. You could be taught business, but not entrepreneurship. And the thing that all entrepreneurs have in common is every entrepreneur makes an affordable step forward, no matter what direction it is. Then they learn from that and they repeat it. That means that when you're in the dark, you can't see, you make a small step, you feel around, you keep going, or you step back because you stepped on something, right? And that's the first 1, 2, 3, 4 years of business entrepreneurs make the affordable step. The other people who are not entrepreneurs, who are doing it for money, make sometimes unfortunate steps. They go and they say, I need to get $1 million because that's going to cure the problem. Now you got $1 million problem. Or they make bad steps because they want to go get money because they just want to go get money. They want the Benz, and all of a sudden they end up in a place that they don't want to be, or sometimes they end up not existing at all. So, you always just have to be somebody who really loves what you're doing and make an affordable step forward and learn and then repeat.
Yeah, I mean, with Elite Daily, that's something that I think has made us become successful at this point. And something that I've learned is the fact that we just work so hard to build something that people love and worry about money later. Let's just build something that that people will love and enjoy and be passionate about our work, and that'll come down the road. So
absolutely, if all you care about when you have a business is what are you providing for the customer, how is the customer satisfied, and you're making affordable steps to keep providing, and then you're homing it in, you're fixing it and presenting it back out, your customer's going to love you for it. Unlike people who make steps and then they say, well, we're big enough, we start alienating our customer, it's about us. When you start doing that, you lose people just as fast.
Right. The culture of hip-hop has catapulted the success of your first companies. What parallels do you see between hip-hop and entrepreneurism?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that before. Hip-hop and entrepreneurialism. I think hip-hop is the rawest form of entrepreneurialism. Why? Because you have to really be your gut, you have to have talent, and you have to also, at this day and age where there's a lot of commercial aspects to hip-hop, you have to navigate the water. So unlike before, you get signed to a major label, you're out there, this time guys are either, if they're not getting off a mixtape, or they're not found on YouTube, or they're not collaborating, they have to be an entrepreneur because to be a successful writer or hip hop guy, I mean, all of us can rap to some extent. All of us can say spoken word. All of us can get somebody to do it for us. So if you can't separate yourself by applying yourself with a delivery system to other people, you're not going to get out there. And that's the good thing. And that's why hip hop creates really raw energy, because it's the voice of the streets. It's the voice of people who are celebrating love or mad at where their environment has at what their environment has taught them. But also it's coupled with, how am I going to get the rest of the information out to the world? Because anybody can get on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and just say, listen to me. So how are those entrepreneurs getting out there? How's Machine Gun Kelly getting out there? How did we find him? He's an entrepreneur too, as well as he's an artist.
Everyone aspires for success. So what drives you to work so hard?
What drives me to work so hard is that I'm doing something I love. I love educating people. I love making deals. I'm at the age now where, those people that walk on the Shark Tank, or the people I invest in, any of the companies I invest in, I see that twinkle in their eyes, and that energy that I had when I was younger. I'm also older now that I'm not as hip as I may think I am. And this digital age, the best thing to ever do is to understand that you may not know a lot, but you may tap into some of those geniuses. Because so when I'm on Shark Tank, I look at some of those people and I go, man, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? But that person's going to let me get 20, 30, 40, 50% of their dream and work with them, and they have that energy, and they're going to keep going. Let's say the business doesn't work out. What do I have? I got another partner for a new business that we're going to do. So it's all about the person, the technology, and the fact that I love being active and out there and just creating things and creating brands.
What was the most craziest, funny, crazy idea that you came across that blew your mind being on that show?
There's so many guys that came across. The craziest idea that blew my mind, and I'll tell you the truth, it's this guy, he was dancing and he was drawing cats. And it was, I'm going to draw a cat for you, right?
I want to draw a cat for you. I want to draw a cat for you.
And I really wanted the deal, but I hate to say it, my ego, I couldn't fight over a dude that was dancing, drawing cats. And I was fighting with Mark Cuban over it. And that guy, I really liked it, because you know what? I looked at that thing as being the next Hello Kitty. Him drawing these cats and putting it out there. And then he kept dancing, singing this stupid song. But I think that was the guy who I really am mad I didn't get. He was crazy. But obviously you got other people who were just totally out of their mind. But that guy was out of his mind in a good way, and I loved it.
That's great. What was that? What actually was a great idea that maybe you invested in, or one of your co-judges invested in, that turned out to be a big success now?
Well, there's a lot of great ideas that turned out to be great successes. I think the quickest flip of something that I did was Kevin O'Leary invested into a company called Talbot Teas, and these were two guys, and they were like the Versace of teas. And like the coffee craze maybe 10 years ago started, this tea, gourmet, exotic tea market is starting to grow. And these guys really about 4 years ago created this beautiful blend of teas. I couldn't get in the deal at the time because I had already invested in a tea company. It was a conflict of interest. But after the show was over, Kevin O'Leary came to me and said, what can we do? And I realized I'll make way more money flipping this deal than I would with the money I was losing on the current tea deal. So I got out of my other deal, and we sold this thing to Jamba Juice for a lot of money. So the Talbot Tea guys are happy because they're millionaires now, and they see their dream come true when you have the name Talbot Teas in Jamba Juice. And as Kevin O'Leary would say, we got to wet our beaks a little bit on that, and so we're excited about it.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How was it when you first made your first million? What was the first thing you bought or did when you first got that real big sense of success?
When I made my first million, I don't recall what I did, but what I do realize is when I made my first million, I realized how poor I really was. And poor in the sense of material worth, because when you make your first million, it takes you about $1 million to get out of the debt that you have to be comfortable. You pay Uncle Sam, and then by the time you take care of Mom and a couple of people, and you buy yourself a decent home. I'm not even talking about something crazy, and a car and a couple of things. You're about even. So you have to treat that first million like it's going to be your last, and And you often see that with athletes and people, because athletes, they say 75% are bankrupt 3 years out of the league, because, you think it's all going to keep coming in, and it's not. So when you take it, you got to get yourself even and move forward,
Right. You're notorious for always having your hands in a little bit of everything. What are the most important businesses you're involved with right now, and what should we expect hitting the market this year from Daymond John, and any stealth projects in the pipe?
Yeah, well, the most important businesses that I have now are obviously going to be every one of my businesses, because they each are a child, and they each need attention, and some of them kind of can go a little bit on autopilot, but some of them need some TLC. But what is my objective this year and going on to next year? It would be my acquisition of all technology. I think the tech space is where everything is going. So I have two objectives: technology and health and fitness. I invested in many CrossFit gyms because I love the health and fitness space, and you'll see on the show that I will go after most technology plays. I invested in a company called Mobley. It's like an Instagram and things I think it's me and Leonardo DiCaprio and Serena Williams and Toby Maguire and somebody else is in there. So it's really technology and health and fitness are my objectives.
Then you'll love Elite Daily.
Yeah, you're right about that, so I'm here.
Great. The hip-hop clothing industry was an extremely competitive market in the 1990s, during which established many brands and startups, and they all fought for the loyalty of both the consumer and the artist. How were you able to succeed in this era, getting all those artists involved?
The way I succeeded is because, first of all, I had 3 amazing partners. It was not done by myself, and we were able to be 4 places at one time. So first of all, second of all, Forest Bias was never about a color. Forest Bias was about a culture. A lot of people don't know that. My stepfather is a white Jewish man that taught me, you may be pro-black, but you don't have to be anti anything else. So we were able to create a movement from many, many different areas. From Japan. The first places to buy the product was Japan and Seattle, Washington. So what we were able to do, we were able to tap into a cultural movement, a time. We were from Hollis, Queens, so we were fortunate enough I was on tour since I was 12 years old. Fat Boys, Run DMC, Big Daddy Kane, Houdini, Eric B. and Rakim. Those were the tours I was on at 12 years old. So we had deep, deep roots in hip-hop with artists. We just grew up in the business. The people that came around in the 90s and later on who just wanted to follow the trend, it may have been more challenging because the culture was already baked in, the price was already baked in, and it was a little more challenging when you got into 2000. But we just were part of a great, great movement.
How important do you think it is now, with new ideas, new startups, actually getting somebody involved who may be a celebrity or somebody like yourself as a partner in that business?
I was fortunate enough to partner up with LL Cool J, and LL Cool J is not only a legendary artist, but he is a worker. If you get involved with anybody, know where it is. If you're getting involved with an investor and you're looking for capital, then don't call the guy every day. Because if you go into the stock market as an investor, nobody that I invest in stocks are calling me. Apple's not calling me. Nobody's calling me when I put my money in. So if you're looking for an investor, understand where it is. If you're looking for a celebrity, understand if you're going to have a worker. If you are going to just take one picture and put it all over the place, no problem. But if you need that person to show up, you need that person to really live that brand, then make sure you get in bed with the right person. I got in bed with LL in regards to business, and this guy, he put FUBU in the Gap ad. He wore FUBU on any given Sunday. He put it everywhere. I have pictures with him meeting the president in FUBU. I wouldn't even meet the president in FUBU, right? So it's not about the name. It's about people who works the brand. And the higher and the bigger a celebrity is doesn't necessarily mean anything, because a lot of times, people won't relate to them. But Suzanne Summers, you know how many Thigh Masters she sold? George Foreman, way after he lost his championship, you know how many Foreman grills he sold? When you get with people who people can relate to, you don't always look at the A entertainers, because that guy may just take a check from you, take one picture, and leave. You got to have people who are working for you, whether they're your investor, whether they're your entertainer, whether they're your strategic partner. It's about people who see your vision You understand what they contribute and you work with them.
What advice do you give any young entrepreneur trying to raise money on the Shark Tank or in real life in general?
Well, when people are trying to raise money or pitch in general, people need to understand that they need to pitch in regards to what is attractive to the person you're pitching to. Often, too many times, people will pitch and say, I want to be rich, I want to create this company, I want to do this and that. And that has nothing to do with me. Right? So first of all, you have to pitch in regards to what's the value for that person. Second of all, and more important than anything else, is if you don't already have the brand built or you don't have sales to show proof of concept, then I'm going to have to do that. So why own 50% of your company and work on your idea when I can own 100% of my idea and my company? So money is as expensive as it is in regards to becoming early. If you come to me at a really early stage, that same $100,000, I want 90% of your company. If you go and show me that you can make some sales, that there's people who want the product, that $100,000 may become 20% of your company. So the more that you can do on your own before you bring in capital is extremely important.
What are some of the key characteristics that you look for on the show or in any given day that somebody's pitching you an idea?
Well, by far, I look at the person first and can they run a business. You know, when you partner up with somebody, it's like getting married. So I may talk to you every day on the phone for the rest of our lives. Are you going to call me every day on the phone for the rest of our life because you can't solve a problem, because you have a problem, or because, you know, we can't get around the problem collectively? So first of all, how am I going to deal with the person? Second of all, are you running the business and you sharp enough that if you do call me with a problem, you have tried to figure it out 10 ways from Sunday on how to solve it. So when you call me, not only are you going to tell me the problem for us to work collectively, you're going to tell me what you learned so I can educate myself in that business. See, that's one less path for us to go down. And then finally, it's going to be, is the business a business? Is it scalable? Can this business go from 10,000 to 1,000,000? Because sometimes a business doesn't need partners. If you have your own business and you're doing $100,000, $200,000 business, you're making a profit of $50,000, $75,000 a year, you got a great business for you. You just don't need partners.